On this episode, we talk to Graeme Lambert from NCI. We talk about what NCI does, how it can help lenders, borrowers and brokers, and much more. Now it's time to spend 30 minutes in finance.
Yes, I'm Graeme Lambert, Operations Director at NCI Resources Limited. I've been in financial services all my working life, starting in a building society straight from school, spending time in pretty much all the departments: underwriting, collections and repossessions. Last financial services company I worked for was Cheltenham and Gloucester, where I left in 1996, did some consultancy work, and then joined NCI in 1977 when the business started. NCI have been providing field services ever since then, 1997. In a nutshell, we have a network of field agents across the UK, including Scotland and Northern Ireland, visiting the customers of our clients for pretty much anything that is required. Until 2018, the main service for NCI was mortgage arrears counselling. But in 2018, we took a strategic decision to leave that sector and scale down the operation. And we now concentrate on the short-term loan sector, the business finance sector, and we also represent a number of solicitors for various tasks as well. We receive a wide range of instructions, from house sitting to serving legal documents, business finance site visits, and of course the short-term pre-completion, interim and development monitoring instructions that we deal with. But ostensibly we will do any kind of compliant visit that is required by one of our clients, where a customer needs visiting or interviewing for whatever purpose.
No, that's perfect. And to be honest, that is one of the best intros we've had. So thanks for coming on, Graeme. And just before we kind of jump onto everything else, I've been meaning to ask this for a while and actually forgot to. What does NCI actually stand for?
Well, back in the day, in 1997, we were associated with an American company called Nationwide Credit Inc., based at Basildon, and in the initial days, it was a sort of joint venture. They used to process all the old credit card slips, which you may remember, before everything went digital. And back in that day, they couldn't turn off credit cards, and if somebody went over the limit, the only way to stop further spending was to remove them from circulation. So in the early days of NCI, we were literally going out and collecting credit cards from people who had gone over their credit limit. And shortly thereafter, late 90s, NCI Inc. Left UK, and we'd already built up a bit of name awareness, and therefore we retained the acronym, even if it wasn't the intended joint venture, and we've been NCI Resources ever since.
I didn't realise it actually worked like that. Was that in the late 90s?
97, absolutely, yeah. And that remained the case until I think it was either the late 1990s or early 2000s, when the technology started becoming what it is today.
That's a really interesting start to all of it. And I guess, was it just then a case of people asked you if you could do something, and then you took it from there?
The business sort of strategy was always to expand. The mortgage arrears counselling arena was something that our board and our CEO, Adrian Bloomfield, were already aware of and involved in with other people. So that was always the intention, and the early days enables us to build up our network of field agents, which at one stage got up to about 160 agents across the UK. All of which we recruited, vetted, and screened, and still do that today. And the profile for which is usually a semi-retired finance professional, maybe left a building society or a bank for early retirement. So we built up the field force in the early days, and then we're able to retrain the field force into the new services that we offered as we went on. And as you say, we started with where we did. We got into the arrears counselling, and then clients do get wind of the fact that you've got this field network, and they do start asking you to do slightly different things. And to a degree, that's how the business has evolved. That we can't go to clients and tell them what they want. We are here to hear what is wanted, and then we can develop the service around that. And we've continued to do that pretty much ever since, and continue to today.
You said you had about 160 agents. Do you have any idea roughly where you are at the moment?
Yeah, we're down to about 60 now, and that is for a number of reasons. When we were doing the vast number, the huge numbers we were doing back in the 1990s, we needed a lot of people because they were very, very busy. Since then, we've scaled it back, partly retirements, because obviously a lot of the field agents who are semi-retired start with us in their 50s or even 60s, and so a number of people have retired. Gone on to other things, and we've now retained a fairly, much smaller nucleus of agents, but they're real. They're ones that we've retained by choice because they offer the geographical location, but more importantly, the service. They're able to react very quickly to instructions. They're able to converse at the right level with the person that they're speaking with, whether it's a senior partner in a law firm or whether it's a managing director of a company, or whether it's a person investing in property for the very first time. And added to that, the quality that they have to deliver as well. So it's a matter of getting there quickly, understanding what they're there for, having a good conversation, deep conversation with the person that they're speaking with, and getting a good quality report back to us. And in our headquarters in Fareham, we then do the quality control. We check it against the objectives of the original instruction, and turn it around very, very quickly. So we're finding at the moment that the 50 to 60 agents that we've got, and sorry, I haven't got the exact number because it does change, but is enough to cover the entire UK, including Scotland, and we have a solitary person in Northern Ireland as well, who thankfully is prepared to travel, albeit we don't do a huge amount over there.
It is an interesting point because there isn't a huge amount of lenders that are actually based outside of England. Do you find that the case for your business, as in where do most of your actual clients come from?
No, you're absolutely right. All of our clients, bar one or two, which I'll come on to in a moment, are based in England. And a couple of years ago, we had a request from an American law firm who somebody had relocated to the States from the UK. They'd used us when they worked in the UK, and they needed a number of business sites visited in the UK. So we did those, and we also have a client based in Tampa, who asks us to serve process every now and again, legal documents every now and again. So apart from those two, you're absolutely right. Our clients are England based.
Yeah, it is a little bit of a strange one. Firstly, I just want to say that obviously we've used NCI for a couple of our deals over the last sort of couple of years, and they've been really helpful. But I was wondering, Graeme, if you're able to give us a few examples of some deals that you've done, and how you've helped some of the lenders, and just maybe give us a bit of an example of the sort of stuff that you do in a bit more detail so people can get a better idea of it.
Yes, yes, of course. I mean, in the general short-term loan arena, so to speak, we obviously part of our when we're doing a pre-completion visit, it is aimed at the purpose of the loan. It's aimed at the exit strategy, and the availability and source of the deposit if it's a purchase. And so they're all the things that we will discuss with the customer, to make sure that everything makes sense and it is as the lender believes it to be. Every now and again, we may come across a situation where it's an unregulated loan, but the borrower is wishing to move into the property when they've purchased it, which obviously is against the terms of that loan. So we found instances where that has been the intention, which obviously has led to further discussions and as to whether that loan can proceed. So that is something we come across. As I say, the availability and source of the deposit obviously is crucial on a purchase, and also for the early days of a development on a development loan as well. So we'll delve into that. And as I say, the purpose. The exit strategy from the loan as well, to make sure that it is feasible. And these are all the things that we report back to the lender on. That's on the pre-completion side. We then do a mid-term inspection for some clients as well. So maybe a 12-month loan where we're instructed to go in maybe month 6, just to make sure that the exit strategy is on track, and that the works that were intending to be done are being done, and as I say, they hope the works will be done and the loan exited within the usual within the term that was agreed. Sometimes we can find that, and of course we represent a small part of the market, but we have found instances of structural works being undertaken which were not known to the lender day one, it being used for purposes other than was intended, single let, perhaps HMO or vice versa. We found instances such as that. All of which is information that the lender often wants to know, and particularly whether the refinance strategy has started, whether a mortgage offer has been received, and whether a property is on the market. Who's it with? Who's it being marketed with? What for? As I say, to give comfort mid-term that a loan is going to be redeemed and exited within the original term.
Perfect. Are they the two most common sort of types of jobs you do currently for most lenders?
Absolutely, yeah. The pre-completion also involves an element of know your customer, although of course there are digital ways of doing that just as effectively, but we're often there just as a backup to that as well. And so yes, it will be a bit of KYC and on the pre-completion. yes, the interim visits, which can become an exit visit. So rather than a midterm, we may go out a month before the end of term if a dialogue is not ongoing with the lender, just to see what the situation is. Quite a recent addition to the service list is development finance monitoring, mainly for projects which perhaps don't require the services of quantity surveyor, and perhaps the budget doesn't make a quantity surveyor cost effective. And so we're instructed to go out to check the works, collect the invoices, to support drawdowns. And again, that is something that we started on the back of a specific client request. We've developed the product or the service over a number of years, and a couple of years now, and now that is certainly increasing in popularity as well. And our sort of USP for that is that we're very quick. We usually can get to any property in the UK within 3 days, and we've reported within sort of another 3 days after that as well. And so the speed thing is very well received, and as I say, because we are not quantity surveyors and don't pretend we are, we're there to look at the works, get photographic and video evidence, which we can then send to the lender so they can see it in real time as well. The works that have been completed with the back of the invoices is very often enough for drawdowns to be released and the development to continue without the need to be counting bricks and materials on site, etc., which otherwise it could become.
Yeah, because a QS is, you instant add a few £1,000s, and if you're doing a small deal, which I'm guessing that's the majority of the ones that you have gone to expect, sort of maybe 1 or 2 houses, maybe a little bit bigger than that, but that's the sort of level that I would imagine that it is
Yes, absolutely.
prohibitive,
Yeah,
the QS cost. So, and it is an interesting one because we typically get the valuer to do it, go out and for our own cases currently, and they're they vary in terms of price wise. Are you able to share or happy to share sort of roughly what that sort of costs? I guess it depends slightly on the size of the deal and that sort of thing, but sort of ballpark figures.
Yeah, well, including VAT, the first visit to any site comes under just under 500, and for the drawdown visits in between come to just under 300, including the VAT.
Yeah, so that is generally cheaper than a lot of the sort of values we do. And I'll be open and let everyone know the sort of things that we've got you guys doing actually on some of our deals. One of them was basically tenancy checks to make sure the properties are vacant when they said they are going to be vacant. That's a big one for us, because obviously if when the valuer turns up and they say there's a tenant in place, and the borrower is saying, actually, it's now vacant, who do you believe? You've got to actually go and eyeball that yourself. And it's a very cost efficient way to get somebody out there, especially if it's sort of, a little far away or something like that. And that's what we've used you guys for, as well as a couple of the reports. And you also give sort of rough valuation estimates, which we've found handy. So for our 7-day guarantee product, we've used you a couple of times to have a look at a few places. We want to do more, so if anyone's got any deals, send them through. But generally, I think it is it's a really handy thing to get out, and it is that, as you say, part of that know your customer, the KYC side of things. It's actually somebody eyeballing them, taking a photo of them with the passport or driving license. We find that really handy, because at least that way there's that 100% certainty. There's no sort of maybes, and a lot of lenders don't meet their customers face to face at any point. Obviously, it's relied on solicitors and certified ID and all of that kind of thing. So this is an extra sort of check, I think, that is incredibly handy. One thing that has sort of, well, post-pandemic really, there's been a huge rise in sort of automated valuations and that kind of thing. But the problem with those, obviously, and this is where I want to see if it's something you guys get involved in a lot, is obviously they can't see the state of the property, so it's just an estimate. Do you guys get involved at all in sort of going out to actually work alongside sort of AVMs to actually eyeball some people and see what the conditions like, or is that not so?
No, absolutely. I mean, this is a growing service that we're seeing as well. That we are going out on, particularly on purchases, for and doing a video walkthrough. And sometimes the video, I believe, is then sent on to the valuer to assist with their desktop valuation. But it does at least demonstrate that the internals of the property, it has got a kitchen, it has got a bathroom, it has got floorboards, and all of the things that a desktop valuation wouldn't necessarily tell you. And it's real time, and so you know exactly, you know, the date and time we were there, and what the property looked at that time. And so yes, you're absolutely right. This is something that is increasing in popularity. The video walkthrough backed up with stills of the property as well, which the lenders are using for the basis of the valuation. In terms of what we provide, if we're ever asked to give an indication of valuation, all we would do is what any valuer would do, which is to check online for recent activity. We're not obviously qualified to give valuations, but we will certainly give an indication based on recent activity in the area and similar properties.
Yeah, and it's taken with a pinch of salt, but it's there or thereabouts. It is kind of what I think it's a handy kind of guesstimate. And on that, obviously, part of it is kind of people will rely on the information that you guys are giving in certain instances. And I think it's the case. And do you guys cover sort of have any PI sort of backup that if there is any issues, or how does the liability side work with the information that you are providing?
We make it clear in our reports that we are not valuers, and everything we provide is indicative only. But of course, yes, we've got the PI to cover what we do as well. But you know, not a superstitious person, but touch wood anyway. Never had any issues on that in the past. But you know, we're also always very careful just to point out you know, our role in this, and that it is indicative, and you know, could not and should not and cannot be relied on for lending purposes.
Yeah, especially the valuation side of things. When it comes to sort of the current climate that we're in at the moment, with a little bit of uncertainty, have you found that has actually impacted on the amount of work you're getting in a either positive or negative way, as in are people being a bit more careful, so they want to actually get that double check, that sort of, you know, second set of eyeballs on the property, or are you finding that they're actually holding back on sort of spending money?
Well, we've been seeing a gradual increase in business ever since sort of the ends of COVID. Obviously, that was a very difficult time for everybody, but we're seeing a sort of gradual increase. We're continuing to see a gradual increase ever since. We're finding that some of our lender clients are less busy, but conversely, we're finding some of our lender clients are more busy. So as a whole, we are getting busier, and you know, what we're continuing to see.
That's good to hear. And in terms of, do you think the sort of use for you guys, can you see any benefit in terms of, as things get a little rougher, just giving people that little bit more comfort when they are using things like AVMs and desktops, that they might be able to sort of keep on pushing the boundaries? Because obviously everyone's sort of loan to values have dropped slightly, but obviously I can see something like that giving people that little bit of extra comfort, just to make sure they can keep helping the customers at the sort of loan to values that they used to be accustomed to.
Yeah, I think as you said earlier, I think the face-to-face meeting with the customers is a very powerful thing. And sometimes where we do the pre-completion and then we do the interim 3 or 4 months down the track, it's invariably the same agent, and you've already got a relationship with these people, and therefore you're getting real honesty as to where they are with the project and the likelihood of exits and everything. We are seeing a lot of well, not a lot, but again, just with the caveat that we represent a small part of the market, and it's certainly, can't say this represents the whole market, but we are seeing on some of the midterm inspections that people are changing the exit from refinancing and letting to selling, because we've seen instances of people worried about the letting market and increasing interest rates. So I think the economy has affected some people in that way. But conversely, we've also seen the other thing. We've seen instances of people who had intended to sell the property, but now the prices they're getting from estate agents are not as good as they hoped. So they're going the other way and looking to let the property and refinance it. So not conclusive on their own, but these are scenarios that we've seen of late, which we didn't necessarily see 12, 18, 24 months ago. Even though people always change what their intentions, that has increased a little bit just recently. And the other thing we've seen is a few instances of re-bridging situations where, for various reasons, the proposed exit has not been realised, and an existing lender are unable to extend the loan, and therefore we are seeing, as I say, instances of people having to re-bridge because they can't exit. And again, I think that's all to do with confidence and interest rates and where we are at the moment. But overall, I think people are still buying property, they're still selling property, they're still letting property, they're still converting into HMOs. And as I say, we're certainly getting a lot busier on the development finance side of things as well. So, people are still looking to build from the ground up and do the HMO conversions, etc.
No, yeah. So I think you're bang on that. That's at least my opinion as well. So it doesn't mean it's right, but it's just what my opinion. But I've just noticed I don't want to keep you too much longer. So for everybody, obviously, that's listening, where can they find you? What's the best sort of place to find out some more information? Who do they get in touch with, etc.?
Yeah, well, the best place is always by email. It's info@nciuk.com. All of the services that we offer are on our website, which is nciuk.com. We tailor all of our services to the exact requirements of the lender client, and we are small enough to be able to move very quickly. We can develop new services, we can tweak new services very, very quickly to accommodate particular requirements. So I think it's always worth having a conversation with us if you've got any need for a property or a person to be visited anywhere in the UK because you have concerns about an exit or the occupancy of a property, always worth speaking to us, and you're very welcome to get our take on a situation before you instruct us, because the likelihood is we've seen a similar situation before. So always delighted to speak to new people, and always happy to take calls personally on my mobile, which is 07977 500 325.
Oh, perfect. That's a nice number. And what I'll do is I'll put all of obviously the information in the description as well. So if you do need to, just check that, and then you can get in touch with Graeme or NCI directly. And before we stop, Graeme, is there anything else you'd like to sort of cover off? Personally, I've got quite a few more questions in mind, but it is 30 minutes, not 2 hours. So we can obviously do this again at some point. And obviously sort of go through some more deals, sort of info, various bits and pieces. But yeah, anything else you want to sort of mention quickly before we stop?
No, I appreciate the being invited on this today, David. I found it very enjoyable and interesting. So thank you very much for that. But no, I think I've given as much as I can at the moment about NCI, and as I say, the biggest message of all is that we've got this incredibly good network of agents who can turn themselves to pretty much anything. If you got a need, give us a call. I'm sure we can assist. And thank you so much, David, for giving us this opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for your time, Graeme. Really enjoyed it.